all of you watching this presentation, we have two of the Zinzino scientific advisory board members on a Zoom with me. They're partners with me in Zinzino, but I've been friends with Stephen Cherniske, who is a world-renowned biochemist and an educator. He's taught at two major universities in California on clinical nutrition. I've known him to be an author with over 1 million books in print. He also helped create the largest medicinal plant-based library in the world. Stephen's ability to communicate to me a complicated and confusing subject of nutrition is where his magic really is. He brings trust and belief to people that hear him speak. And when we looked at Zinzino, I reached out to Stephen and said, "Is this science real?" And I then asked his beautiful wife and equally brilliant partner in life, Dr. Natalie Kather, who's had her own practice specializing in women's issues, but she's also double board certified. She also worked in natural product arena, but also with big pharma corporations as a clinical primary principal lead investigator into drugs. So what I'm going to do is ask them to address something that I've learned is a landmark thing for us in Zinzino, and that there is a new study, observation study is what I've been told it's called, and they're going to talk to us about this study, and they're also going to give us hopefully some knowledge and information and language we can use when wanting to share this study with other people. So, Stephen, Natalie, thank you for being on with me, first of all.
Artie, thanks for having us. It's always a delight to be an Andy call with you. Today we're going to talk really briefly about this new study. It was a 15-page study published in a very prestigious medical journal called Lipids in Health and Disease. And so, how do you use this? Number one, is this a big deal? Yes, it's a big deal. Why is it a big deal? Because in the field of nutrition, it's very rare that a nutrition company puts their money into publishing research. It's very rare. And why is that? Because research is expensive. This was an expensive study. It took years to put this together. And so you're talking about taking a lot of money and a lot of time and a lot of expertise and devoting it to what? Moving the ball down the field. Now, what ball are we talking about here? Because the field of nutrition is very muddy. So if you want to move the ball down the field, you have to have a team that has the skill to do that. What's the end zone? The end zone is improving the health of millions of people around the world. That's a noble goal. And to do that, you can't just be out there yakety, 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 talking about your product. That's what everybody else does. Once in a blue moon, you have a company that's willing to take the resources, the money, the time, the experts, and to put it into moving the ball down the field, which means what? Good, reliable science published in peer-reviewed biomedical journals. It's so rare. It rarely happens because it's so expensive. We know that Zinzino is there. They've always been there since the very beginning. They took Natalie and I on board on their science advisory board when they didn't really need more scientific firepower. We told them that you guys have all the science that you need. And they said, well, yeah, but let's move the ball down the field. Let's take that science and get it out there. And you guys are really good at that. We said, fine, we are honored. Now, what does this do? This is a study with over 590,000 samples, like over 11 years. And we're talking about dried blood spot samples over 11 years in over 100 countries. We're talking about a massive amount of data. This information, it's valuable. What is it specifically for? Two things. So that people can make better food choices, number one. And number two, the value is it's going to help to guide public health policy. And that's where we get into really wonderful terms like changing the world, right? If you can guide public health policy, now, when you think about, well, what does that exactly mean? Well, I can think of a couple of things. Imagine right now at this moment, there are very important people making decisions regarding, wouldn't it be great to have the omega-6 to omega-3 ratio listed on your food labels? Wouldn't that be an incredible breakthrough? Because we know the science is there. What would it take to get the policy changed so that the average person that you talk to understands the value of the omega 6 to omega 3 ratio? You see, it's going to bring that very complicated issue into a clear focus. Oh, I want foods. When I look at the label of the food I'm buying, I want to know what's the omega 6 to omega 3 ratio. I want to select foods that help me to what? Build a better body, because that's really the bottom line here. Now, when you're talking about sharing this with other people, a caveat, because the average person that you're going to be talking to, right, is not going to understand arachidonic acid. They're not going to understand omega 3, omega 6. If you lead with this study, you're going to lose them because they're going to go, I don't know what you're talking about. Who is this really for? Who is it really for? It's for people like Stuart Tomk, right? An infomaniac. It's for people like Natalie and I. It's for skeptics, right? It's for the person who you're talking to that says, yeah, but is there real science there? Oh, is there real science? Let me show you the latest study. By the way, this isn't the only study Zinzino has published. Paul Clayton by himself has over 200 published studies. So this is just the latest. And Natalie's going to give you some tips on how to share it, but I'm going to say it again. This is for the skeptics. This is for healthcare professionals who want to know, first and foremost, is the science real? That's who this is for. Natalie, take it away.
Okay, so this is the study that everyone is talking about, and it's free. It's available on the internet, and it comes from the journal Lipids in Health and Disease, Global Variations in Omega-3 Fatty Acid Status, and omega-6 to omega-3 ratios, insights from over 500,000 whole blood dried blood spot samples. That's what we are talking about today. And um, when you talk to people about such studies, I think it makes sense that you also talk to them about this study.
So see what she's doing? She's tying in the relevance to their personal health. She's not talking about blah, 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 scientific study. She's saying, how is this relevant to your personal health?
And of course, it's the UK Biobank study. A higher ratio of plasma omega-6 to omega-3 fatty acids is associated with a greater risk of all cause. That includes walking across the street and getting hit by a bus, cancer, and cardiovascular mortality. So if you're going to present the study that just came out from Zinzino, please also make sure you have this study with you. All right. So topics that we want to talk about here is why is joining Zinzino such a good thing to do, especially at this time after this study comes out. And so these are some thoughts I want you to consider. The whole thing about focused testing on omega-6 to omega-3 ratios and supplementing with highly bioavailable omega-3s. And of course, you've heard us talk about how we want you to link it back to cellular health. It's this unique, powerful, and timely time with this global study to bring that forward to people and show them that there's this incredible opportunity because it's coming out in the language, and this is a widespread global deficiency and an imbalance problem. And so the latest research shows that suboptimal omega-3 levels and unhealthy omega-6 to omega-3 ratios are the rule, not the exception. So when you have a health conscious person that says, oh, but I don't think I need to test because I'm a vegetarian, or I'm a lacto vegetarian, or I'm a vegan, or, I'm a conscious omnivore, I'm a pescatarian. Well, even if you consume the standard Japanese diet and take omega-3 supplements, you still need to test.
Test, don't guess. Test, don't guess.
The omega-3 deficiency is that prevalent. Do not depend on your diet. And researchers, listen to me, do not depend on diet diaries.
Yeah.
It's a big problem. And with the Zinzino dried blood spot test, it is so accessible and so easy. Stop guessing, test. So remember, most people across every continent, because this was over 100 different countries, we heard Orion mention that on Saturday, regardless of their dietary efforts, fail to achieve the protective range of the omega-6 to omega-3, and we're talking about the safe zone of 3 to 1, or even if you're lenient and say 5 to 1, still they're not achieving it. They fail to achieve that. So we need that validated testing. And what an easy way to do it with a dried blood spot test. It's practical, it's affordable, and it's scalable. When we say scalable, we're talking about, hey, you could have 500 people in a room all test themselves at once. So you can bring this to millions of people regardless of their geography, whether they are in Seattle, Washington, or Auckland, New Zealand, or Baggs, Wyoming, which only has 470 people in the population. All of those people can get tested. And with Zinzino's infrastructure for this home-based dried blood spot testing, it's fast, it's accessible, it's an easy assessment. You get your results on the internet, very easy to do. And this is a health crisis. We have to remember that. We're in a health crisis that demands preventative solutions. So remember the UK Biobank study? Yes, bring people back to that. The cardiovascular disease risk. If you spent some time with us on Wednesday, you know that the huge diabetes risk that goes along with it. We talked about French fries and diabetes because of the oils. Some French fries have an omega-6 to omega-3 ratio of 80 to 1.
Imagine.
Don't feed those to your kids. Um, and then we want to think about,
Yes, I
go ahead
love
and say
that.
it.
Well, only supplements work, but only when used consistently. So that means if I take the test, all right, this wonderful balance test, and I find that I'm not in balance, and I take the balance oil and I get into balance, that's great and that's wonderful. But what you want to focus on, this study, the point of the study is that it's only going to benefit you if you consistently stay in the safe zone.
And that's not the rule. Less than 13% of
Yeah.
people are consistent
Yeah.
in taking their omega-3 supplements. And of course, when it comes to bioavailability, Zinzino is the top tier, apart from everyone else, because we have this patented product, this patented method in Zinzino of attaching the polyphenols from the olives to the omega-3 fats, making it so that they easily get from the gut to the bloodstream, from the bloodstream into the cell membrane. If you
And
don't chant it every day, start chanting it. Polyphenols are the game changer.
And as my father would say, it's not bragging if you can prove it. All right. So when Natalie talks about bioavailability, she's talking about studies that have been done demonstrating better bioavailability of these incredibly important fatty acids from the gut into the bloodstream, from the bloodstream into your cells.
So people are becoming more and more aware of the importance of this. Like Stephen was saying, how great it would be if foods are labeled.
Imagine.
That kind of awareness. So it's the right place and the right time for market growth and influence. This study helps with that process of more and more people becoming aware. By joining Zinzino, you can be at the forefront of this movement, empowering individuals and, of course, shaping public health and expanding your professional reach, and of course, get paid for doing something noble. So why act now? Well, this recent study has a powerful narrative. Almost everyone, 99% of the planet, needs to know their fatty acid status, and then they need a highly bioavailable omega-3 supplement, which will be the solution. And that's what Zinzino has with their balance products. So the support for the dried blood spot testing and the bioavailability of the supplements is stronger than ever. Right now is the optimal time to be a part of Zinzino.
Wonderful. And again, I'll close with one last thing, which I often remind people of. Success in this business requires three things, through the three C's: credibility, confidence, charisma. This is about credibility, and not just credibility for the people you talk to, credibility in your own mind. It's important for you to get that this is a landmark study produced by the company that is at the forefront of this incredibly important science, right? And from that credibility, you gain what? Confidence. And from credibility and confidence, you're not born with charisma. I mean, like some people are, like Art Napolitano, but for most people, confidence, credibility builds your charisma, your ability to communicate these incredibly important facts and information for people that make a difference in their lives. Thanks, Artie. Thanks for the time.
Well, first, thank you both. I just have a couple questions for me as I'm taking notes, like other people watching. I realize from what you said, this is a very big deal. It's rare that companies put this kind of money into studies. It's taken 11 years, randomized through 100 countries with over 500,000 samples. It's basically comes down to two things: to educate people why they should make better food choices, and it can actually become a paper that helps guide public health policy. That's like a huge statement to think that a direct selling company, a science company, is doing that. I remember you said to me when I first looked at Zinzino, I sent you the information. You said, Artie, I've been chief science officer of 4 direct selling companies, founded one, went to nearly $1 billion. I'm surprised this is actually a direct selling company with the science that they have going on here and the people involved. So that was a big check mark for me in my trusting of Zinzino. But let's talk about the paper and how to use it. And you said a summary that I started to write down, Natalie. You said what the paper really says in summary is that everyone on the planet should be testing for their omega fatty acids.
Yeah.
And really, almost everyone, and almost meaning like maybe 1% of the world, everyone else should be on some type of omega-3 product. And I'm thinking in realistic terms. All of us have part customers, or would like to get more customers, talk to family and friends. So we're always using the videos and the tools, whether it's the company's balance oil video, or it's the most important number video, or Stuart has a Omega Miracle video. So we're using these kind of things to create curiosity and trust. Now, we always want to continue the education of the customer. I'll give you an example, real life. This weekend, a very dear friend of mine I played music with for years was a customer, tested poorly, same age as me, been taking balance oil, but he put it on hold to save money. He heard me talking to some other people because he was here this weekend. We went to a concert together and played music. And he said, I realized I made a mistake. I got to get back on the product. And he re-signed up while he was here to get his order. But again, people forget, if we don't keep educating them why that money is investment in themselves, that they should never not invest in themselves first. Why shouldn't you invest in your own health? This is about being, proactive with your own health, right? And then two other friends of mine, classmates from high school, were also in town, and they both got tested. Both of them take omega-3 products and can't wait to find out how they score, because it goes back to the simple question, how do you know what you take works? And they said, we really don't know. I said, how do you even know you need? You don't. How about getting tested? I'll show you how I can be a customer and get a discount. It's a great value. They were blown away. Great deal. Again, got them tested. If they pass the test, they'll get their money back. Fine. But taking this study now, how do I use it to send to somebody as a continuing education point? Is there also maybe a summary paragraph that you could write up for us that would, just be, hey, Joe, by the way, this came out and this is what it basically highlights, that almost everyone needs to be taking this test. Now, you won't read all the science. That's why I'm sending it to you. But here's what the conclusion is. See, if we had something like that, I think every one of us watching this Zoom or recording would really feel like we know what to say, because I'm still not sure what I say to my friend Joe,
Artie, I think that's a great idea. We promise that we'll have that in the next 48 hours, and we'll give that to you because you're so good at making sure that everybody has the information that they need to succeed. 48 hours, we should have that easily in your hands. We'll check in with Stuart Tomk, and make sure that everybody's on board with the summary statement. But that's a great idea. And again, it's not that you lead with this kind of science because you can't
Gotcha.
do, but what you're doing is you're gauging the person's curiosity, you're gauging their ability and their desire for more information. We're still talking about the cell-centered approach. Natalie and I are always about cell-centered approach, which is the most basic thing, which is, of course, what? Would you be interested in a test that measures the function of every cell in your body? Would have you heard that there is a test that measures cell function so that you can improve every cell in your body and how it works and how it does what it does? There's so many different ways to pique a person's interest, but it's not like you lead with a study. This is after you gauge their level of understanding, awareness, and curiosity. But a
Well,
summary statement, one paragraph, yes, we can definitely put that in your hands.
yeah, see, and I saw a few thumbs up from the other people I'm viewing, watching this, that's what I would have. If I knew what to put in that paragraph that's in lay language for the layman out there, and then attach the study, is just further education to make sure I don't have a customer like my friend who said, well, maybe I'll save my $40 or $50 a month, whatever he was paying. You know, instead he said, I made a mistake. I got to get back on it right away and sign right back up. But he heard us over talking with my two other friends about this study and that they were taking omega-3. And he said, well, wait a minute, how about me? I got to get back on it. I said, I didn't even know you stopped. So anyway, thank you so much. I'm going to take you off share. We're going to close up the call here. Again, thank you both. Great information. Just we're blessed to have you two part of this project and helping to lead our team and educate us. So thank you both.